Hey guys, I'm Jessie, and today we are going to be talking about all of the August 2022 fantasy book releases that I am super excited about. I know I did not do one of these videos for July, and at this point it feels like it's too little too late to even try to do July because a lot of the books have already come out. So we're just gonna skip right on past that and go straight into August because I did not really film anything in the month of June, so yeah, we're just gonna pretend that month didn't happen because we were busy. But there are so many books coming out in August that I'm so excited for, and I wanted to share with you. A lot of them are sequels to books that I really like, and there's a couple new exciting sounding series coming out as well. So we are going to jump right into those. The first one we're going to talk about is one that I've actually already read because I had an arc of it, and that is Babble by R.F. Kuang. This comes out on the 23rd of August, and y'all, you need to jump on this book. This is a standalone dark academia, like historical fiction set at Oxford with translators. And it is so good. We follow our main character, Robin, like through his entire life pretty much, as he is taken from a small village in China over to London to be raised by this guardian who is not a very nice guy. And he is eventually accepted into Oxford as a translator student. And there are like four students total, so 3 others. And we get to follow them through their whole journey at Oxford, and we get to learn all about like the magic in this world, which is translation. And really it is not the translation, it is what's lost in translation. And it's really, really fascinating. Like there are literally parts of this where you feel like you're reading a history book and you just don't care because R.F. Kuang is such a good writer. I would read her grocery list. And yeah, I'm just so excited for this one to come out, and the hype is real. All right, so the first one that we're going to talk about today is Wild as the Witch by Rachel Griffin, and this comes out on August 2nd. And Rachel Griffin, if you don't know, is the author of The Nature of Witches, and I believe this book takes place in the same world, but is not a direct sequel. It is more of a like companion, I believe, from what it sounds like. It says, when 18-year-old Iris Gray accidentally enacts a curse that could have dire consequences, she must team up with a boy who hates witches to make sure her magic isn't unleashed on the world. And I mean, the cover is just stunning. I really loved The Nature of Witches, and I'm excited to read anything else that this author puts out. Next up, we have Fury Song by Rosario Munda coming out on the 9th of August. And y'all, I cannot wait to get to this. This is the 3rd and final book in the Aurelian cycle, and I absolutely loved Fireborn. Flamefall was even better, so I'm super excited to see what happens in this 3rd installment. So I can't obviously give you much of a synopsis because this is the 3rd and final book in a trilogy, but in Fireborn, we have basically a Russian Revolution gender-swapped Anastasia with a boy who his whole family is killed when the monarchy is overthrown, and he kind of like lives secretly and no one knows who he is, right? And then we have a girl who is his best friend who is an orphan, and they're kind of like raised in this orphanage together, and they end up competing in this like dragon rider tournament, and it is so good. There are dragons and really believable romance, even though it's not romance heavy at all. Like there's like little bits here and there. Y'all, it's so good, and I am excited to see how Rosario Munda ends this series. She's probably gonna break my heart because she's not afraid to, but it is so good. Then coming out on the 16th of August, we have The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. This is supposed to be a part heist, part dark fairy tale, and it sounds super cool. It says, once upon a time, the Kingdom of Wales were rife with magic and conflict. 18-year-old Myr is well acquainted with both. She's the last living water diviner and has spent years running from the prince who bound her into his service. Under the prince's orders, she located the wells of his enemies, and he poisoned them without her knowledge, causing hundreds of deaths. After discovering what he had done, she went to great lengths to disappear from his reach. Then, Myr's old handler returns with a proposition. Use her powers to bring down the prince that abused them both. That sounds so good. Like, I'm all for revenge and water powers, and this just sounds really cool. Plus, again, a really pretty cover. The next one is also coming out on the 16th, and that is the Oleander Sword by Tasha Suri. This is the sequel to The Jasmine Throne, which I read and absolutely loved last year. So I'm really, really excited to find out what else happens in this story. This is an Indian-inspired sapphic high fantasy, and it is so good. There's some really cool magic in this. We have a badass mother who is actually pregnant in the first book, so I love that. And yeah, a lot of like family dynamics and struggle for the throne. So I'm excited to see where else the book goes. Coming out on August 23rd is A Venom, Dark and Sweet by Judy Lin. Again, this is a sequel to a book that I recently read and absolutely enjoyed, which is A Magic Steeped in Poison. And it is a like Chinese folktale inspired fantasy book with a decently heavy romance, but the magic is all about tea and different teas and way of like making them and drinking them, and it is so good. The first book we have like this kind of competition, and we end up having, you know, our main girl who doesn't really know much about like the political side of what she's gotten herself into with this competition. And then we also follow the love interest, which is like a disenfranchised heir to the throne who is trying to kind of like get his power back. And it is so good. I can't wait to see what happens. Next up is August 30th, and that is A Dragon's Promise by Elizabeth Lim. This is the sequel to Six Crimson Cranes. I have a full review for Six Crimson Cranes if you want to check it out. It is such a good book. I really, really enjoyed it. I'm really sad that I actually missed the sale for the Fairy Loot edition of this second book, but you snooze, you lose. I kind of forgot about it there for a minute. But that's okay, because I'm not weird about my series matching, but I would have bought it. But this is such a good book. Again, this is like a Chinese folktale inspired fantasy story, but this one is extremely whimsical and extremely fantastical, and it almost feels like you're reading a Disney movie. And that is what I love about it, because it is just such a fun, fast read, and I can't wait to see what happens in book 2. Also coming out on the 30th, we have A Spear Cuts Through Water, and that is by Simon Jimenez. And this one just sounded really cool. I actually have the NetGalley arc for it, so hopefully I'll be reading it like extremely soon. And it says, two warriors shepherd an ancient god across a broken land to end the tyrannical reign of a royal family in this new epic fantasy from the author of Vanished Birds. I have not yet read Vanished Birds, but it is like high on my list of books that I have been wanting to pick up forever and just haven't gotten around to. And it just sounds like it's gonna be really cool. I typically love anything with like gods and stuff like that, so I'm excited. And then finally coming out on the 30th is Omari and the Great Game by B.B. Alston, and this is the sequel to Omari and the Night Brothers. I read Omari and the Night Brothers back in March and absolutely loved it. Like the only thing I didn't like was that I waited too long to read it. Like I should have read it sooner, because it was so much fun, and it's one of those books that I can pass down to my daughter because it is middle grade, and the sequel is coming out. I cannot wait. The first book is very much like an almost fantastical middle grade version of Men in Black, is like the best way I can describe it, and it is so good and so cute, and I can't wait to see what happens after the end. All right, well, that is everything that I'm kind of like super hyped for the month of August. I know most of them are sequels, so I'm sorry if you haven't read the first book. Now is your chance though. Now is your chance to go pick up like book 1s of any of the books that I talked about so that you can be ready for the sequels coming out in August as well. Let me know what your most anticipated releases for the month of August are, so maybe I can pick those up too. All right, well, y'all have a good one. My name is Jessie, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.